What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. It's AJ. I hope you guys are doing great, you're doing well, and I'm here back with another video. And the official trailer for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which is just like a month away, just got released, and there's a lot of Easter eggs and plot details that may tell us what's to come. And our newest character that is in the MCU, Namor. We also have Riri Williams debuting in this movie, Ironheart herself, before her own show of the same name on Disney Plus. And other details that you may have missed, and I'm here to lay it all out for you guys, so let's dive into it. The trailer opens up with the Marvel Studios logo, which is silver on black, symbolizing Black Panther's costume color scheme. We see the opening shot of the funeral for T'Challa, our Black Panther, rest in peace Chadwick, and Shuri is holding the Black Panther mask, specifically the one he wore in Captain America Civil War, at the beginning of Black Panther. Before the upgrade Shuri made of vibranium nanotech, Shuri holding the mask might be foreshadowing at her carrying the Black Panther mantle, as we saw at the end of the trailer. Or it could just be a ceremonial thing since she's the sister of the Black Panther, or it's also a sentimental thing since she's the one who also makes the suit for him. We see this beautiful slow motion dance sequence. I bet in the movie is going to be awesome. We see them smiling. You could wonder, like, this is a funeral, why are they smiling? But as T'Challa himself said in Captain America Civil War,
"In my culture, death is not the end."
So it could be that yes, he may be gone from this world, but he's happy and is reunited with their ancestors and his father in the afterlife. Queen Ramonda is also next to her, and she's going to play a very big role in this movie since the king is dead, and she's going to be the ruler for Wakanda, at least for now, until a new king is chosen through ritual combat. We then get the next shot of the trailer, which is of Namor making a painting, and it's very significant on how these shots are back to back. It shows the fall of a king, T'Challa, and the rise of a new king, Namor. And it's going to be so much different from the one we know in the comics, perhaps a little more fleshed out to avoid comparisons to, the other guy. And in the comics, he's half human, half Atlantean, and can breathe underwater, and is from Atlantis, a technologically advanced underwater kingdom, much like Aquaman. The only difference between them is the different power sets they have and a little variation in their origins, and also because Namor came before Aquaman. In the MCU though, it looks like Namor is still a mutant per what the actor himself said, making him and Kamala the very first mutants we are introduced in the MCU. In this movie, there is no Atlantis, and it looks like they are combining different civilizations that existed in the region that is called Mesoamerica, which is of Mexico and Central America, and is where the Mayans ruled for about 2,000 years, and the Aztecs built a thriving civilization during that time. So just like how Black Panther combined different African cultures to create the Wakandans, this movie is also going to do same for Namor and his people. What this movie is also establishing is two advanced civilizations powered by the energy of their own gods and of course of their powerful minerals. Wakandas have vibranium. I'll talk about what Namor and his people have later in the video. So as we saw in Thor Love and Thunder and Moon Knight, all these gods do exist. Basset, we saw her, and a bunch of different gods as well. So the Sea Kingdom in this movie is called Talocan, which is based on the Aztecs Tlalocan. I hope I'm mentioning this correct. Sorry if I butchered it. If you have in-depth knowledge or this is part of your culture, let me know in the comments below. So continuing with that, Tlalocan is the first of 13 afterlives, and this afterlife is reserved for people who died from drowning. Now for people who want to see Killmonger return, I'm just showing a wild theory out there. If they wanted to bring Killmonger back, this could be one of the perfect scenarios to do that, apart from the multiverse or time travel, as they've already been established in the MCU. Now in the first movie, Killmonger told T'Challa that,
"Just bury me in the ocean with my ancestors that jumped from the ships."
which means Killmonger could have survived that stab to the chest. After all, the heart-shaped herbs also gives the user advanced healing, among other stuff. Come on, T'Challa even survived and went through a similar ordeal in that first movie and still survived too. So Killmonger could have ended up in Talocan, where he was treated or even resurrected. Yeah, I mean, that's a stretch, but it could happen if they wanted to take this road. Now, away from that, we see Namor descending onto his throne, built from the jaws of a very big fish, presumably a great shark or even a prehistoric creature, because it looks massive. In the movie too, he's not only going to be a king, but also a god to his people, as Mbaku said later in the trailer.
They called him Kukulkan, the feather serpent god.
In the comics though, he was not a god to his people. In fact, he was kind of shown for being different with his pink skin, winged feet, and being a half-breed. But I love how they are, making this movie in such a way that his differences are what make him special and why he's seen as a reincarnation or second coming of their god, who is called Kukulkan, a Mayan winged feather serpent god similar to an Aztec god called Quetzalcoatl. And there's even some debate whether they are the same and just interpreted differently. We get a next shot in the trailer, which is of Okoye, who's going to be going through her own personal journey in the movie. After all, her sole duty was to protect the king, which she couldn't do, and now she will have to help even more now to defend and help build back up her nation. We also see the beautiful throne room with writings on different pillars, which reads "An Honor" and "The Forever," which is probably Wakanda Forever, "Rest in Power," and "King T'Challa." I love how they are leaving subtle messages and paying homage to Chadwick. Next, we see a ship and it looks like there are people who are embarking on some undersea expedition. And the next shot, we see people in diving suits, like high tech, but definitely not the Wakandas. And also doesn't look like Namor and his people. It looks like they are going to be mining for something, maybe another source of vibranium, since the world now knows, or the governments at least know about it, and they can't get it from Wakanda. So their only option is to look for somewhere else. Or they may be also looking for another source of powerful mineral which may be able to compete with vibranium, and this may be a perfect opportunity for adamantium to be introduced into the MCU, like how the meteorite that fell to Wakanda contained vibranium. How about they show that yes, there was not only one but two meteorites that fell on Earth that day. One fell in Wakanda and the other fell in the ocean somewhere. And so you can explain that Namor and his advanced kingdom was built of adamantium and Wakanda is of vibranium, each powerful in their own right. Them mining in the ocean could also be a callback to what Okoye said in Avengers Endgame.
It's an earthquake under the ocean. We handle it by not handling it.
So them mining the ocean causes this damage, and this leads Namor and his people to hijack this ship. Now the conflict between Namor and Wakanda is going to be one of these reasons, but we are yet to know why Namor thinks that the underground mining or certain other situations are Wakanda's fault, and this could also be a clue that someone is manipulating these three, not just two. The US government, Wakanda, and Namor and his people, which is all for the benefit of that person in the middle of this. There were also some leaks a while ago that this could be Dr. Doom and that this will be his first tease, but regardless of whether it was him or not, someone is definitely behind all this. The next shot is of Wakanda ships carrying containers or crates, and next we see M'Baku holding a meeting. It looks like they are important people, decision makers who have gathered, and we see Okoye and a woman walking in with dreads, presumably that's Nakia, and we hear M'Baku saying,
"They called him Kukulkan, the feather serpent god. Killing him will risk eternal war."
Which can only mean that the crates that the ships were carrying contained Namor and his people, or some of them at least, and they were able to capture them on the hijacked ship by M'Baku and his warriors. And that's also the reason why he called this meeting, giving us this exposition and to also decide what to do with him. While he's speaking, we see the birth of Namor, and next we see an amazing sick shot of him in the air. Like wow, Namor is going to be one of the crazy, phenomenal, and badass looking characters in the MCU going forward. I think this is the moment before he throws a spear at Ramonda and Riri Williams later in the trailer. Our next shot is of soldiers raiding a Wakanda facility, and this may be one of the outreach centers established by T'Challa and run by Shuri at the end of the first movie. And this is also located in Chicago, the hometown of Riri Williams, Ironheart herself. I'll talk about more of her later in the video. In this facility though, we see Aneka, who's an undercover Dora Milaje and is protecting this place. In the comics, Aneka was a combat instructor for the Dora Milaje and was tasked by T'Challa to train the female warriors in techniques that could combat robots in anticipation of the Doom War. Now, following T'Challa's death, there's going to be outside governments trying to take advantage of this nation, mourning them without their king, and try to seize their tech and of course vibranium at these outreach centers all over. So we see Okoye and the Dora Milaje fighting the officers, and in the D23 Wakanda footage that was shown, it shows Queen Ramonda talking to the world government, and the defeated soldiers are brought in front of them, while Queen Ramonda snapped at them for trying to kick them down in their time of weakness. Of course, they also showed their power in front of them, that they still are not at their level even though their king is gone, and that they can still protect themselves. We see Namor and his people in the next shot underwater. This could be the start of the hijacking of the ship, as we see more of that later in the trailer. Next, we see a close-up shot of Namor confronting Queen Ramonda. If this movie doesn't win several awards for great costume design among others, then the whole thing is rigged. We see pearls around his neck, like good luck ripping that shirt off his neck.
You dumb fucking bitch! I'm gonna fuck!
We also see gold seashells along with other Mayan inspired ornaments. Man, the details. We see next Queen Ramonda speaking to the governments on how Wakanda has lost its protector. Of course, it ties back into what I said about them bringing in the soldiers, bringing them in front of the government, and snapping at them for trying to, exploit their weaknesses. And the next shot is of Wakanda being flooded. Just a scary and heartbreaking scene, just like it was in the comics. We see Namor later flying in the air and attacking, and I think this is a continuation of the shore fights we saw in the first trailer. We see next another shot of him attacking someone or something in a Wakanda ship, which makes me think, but what M'Baku said, if Namor was captured, then maybe he did so willingly, and that's how they were able to successfully attack and flood Wakanda. In this scene, we also see our new Black Panther in the back, perhaps trying to defend whoever or whatever Namor is attacking. We then see a shot of Aneka and M'Baku comforting Shuri, which may be during the flooding of Wakanda, or perhaps something I'm afraid will happen in the movie. That is the death of Queen Ramonda. We then see Riri Williams, just like Tony Stark, building his first suit. She's using a blowtorch and a hammer, and we also saw her make a heart-shaped symbol in the last trailer. Now, Riri Williams in the comics is a kid from Chicago, is one of the smartest people on earth, and built her own prototype suit when she was only 15. Now, when Tony Stark was in a coma due to certain unfortunate events, he made an AI hologram of himself to teach her a couple of things and about being a hero, and took on his mantle until his recovery. We saw an AI hologram of Tony Stark in Avengers Endgame, which I think will be perfect if they want to bring him back anytime. Still don't know how this is going to work in the MCU though, since Tony Stark is already dead, and we know he has a massive influence on Riri Williams' story. But then again, just like I said, they could bring him back as an AI in her own Disney Plus show Ironheart. We then see her building her own suit with different scrap and parts, perhaps in that Wakanda lab or facility. We saw her flying next to Okoye in the previous shot after Okoye took down a cop car with the energy blast from her spear. We see several shots of her flying in the suit, which takes us back to the Tony Stark era, with his first couple of lights. The next shot in the trailer is of a character called Atuma, who could be one of the antagonists or perhaps even be the main one. We are yet to see. But in the comics though, Atuma is a rival or nemesis of Namor, who is greedy and whose power hunger drives him to want to conquer the surface world and Atlantis. Now, he could be the one plotting and advising Namor on fighting with Wakanda, whispering in his ear that it's Wakanda's fault and all that from what is happening, the earthquakes, all the other situations that are going to happen in the movie to cause this conflict. Because let's get it straight, Namor is not the villain. He may be thinking that all that is happening is Wakanda's fault due to certain situations in the movie, and that all the things that he's doing, no matter how harsh, to him may be what he needs to do to protect his people. And this throwback shot of Namor and Queen Ramonda, where perhaps they come to a peaceful agreement, Atuma may take other warriors in defiance and wage war on Wakanda or even the surface world, or if Namor is taken prisoner per what the trailer is suggesting, Atuma could also use that power vacuum as a chance to take over the throne. Next, we see Nakia in blue armor, which could be a variation of the Midnight Angel armor and similar to the one Aneka and Ayo wore in the comics. We then get the ending shots of Shuri in the throne room where flames are split across opposite sides, which is similar to Killmonger burning the heart-shaped herbs in the first movie. Now, my humble theory is that this may not even be reality, but her spiritual journey to becoming the Black Panther. And how could that be possible, you may be asking, as we've seen all the heart-shaped herbs burnt in the first movie? Well, in a leak we got some weeks ago, Shuri is going to engineer one and maybe even more, and this may have gone a little wrong somehow, and maybe she's in a coma or something based on what Queen Ramonda said in the first trailer.
Queen of the most powerful nation in the world!
I mean, if this isn't the case, then it doesn't make sense for her to say that if Shuri is alive and well. Now the text here says, "Sacred ground may we find, and wisdom of ancestors." This all adds fuel to my theory. The final shot of this trailer is of the new Black Panther jumping in and making an epic landing, similar to what T'Challa did in his first fight in the first movie, that is before freezing.
What are you talking about? I never freeze.
Hopefully Shuri doesn't also. And for those who still are convinced that this isn't Shuri, she has the exact same ceremonial face markings we've seen on Shuri. And as she makes this huge landing, we see the vibranium kinetic energy rush from her feet upwards.
Nanites absorb the kinetic energy and hold it in place for redistribution.
Very nice.
I know that others may be thinking that this full reveal should have been left in the movie, but I know that maybe perhaps there's crazier things that are going to happen in this movie, that even this full reveal, no matter how awesome it is, it still doesn't take away from the awesomeness that we are going to see in the movie. Anyway, I'm anticipating this movie. People want to, recast T'Challa. It's trending on Twitter, but I'm still excited for this movie. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of all these details and Easter eggs that were found in this trailer. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe, turn on that post notification bell not to miss any other video. As always, Nerdy Sage here. See you guys in the next one.